Hi everyone, Spider-Man 1991 here, and today I'm doing a movie review of The Dark Knight Returns Part 2. I'm going to talk about Part 2 first, and then I'm going to talk about both movies as a whole. Okay, uh, for those of you who aren't familiar, The Dark Knight Returns Part 2 is based off of the Frank Miller miniseries of the same name, Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, and like it says, it's based on the second half of this story. Pretty much, it picks up right where I'd say maybe like a few minutes after where Part One ended with the Joker. He's in Arkham Asylum and he's just starting to wake up from his whole catatonic state because pretty much the story begins with Batman in retirement, and but now Batman's come back and all the news reports are coming in all talking about Batman's return, and now suddenly that just gets Joker going again. And when Joker starts moving and interacting, he's able to convince the psychiatrist Dr. Wolper that he's sane enough to go on a TV show, to go on public television or talk show and talk about how his experience with the Batman, because the way the public is perceiving Batman's return is that he's not necessary anymore. He's a public menace, and Joker feels like he could use this opportunity to go on talk show and try to explain, but really he has ulterior motives. I mean, come on, it's the Joker, for crying out loud. And once the Joker, and pretty much, meanwhile, Batman, he's trying to avoid, he's still continuing his mission, but he's also running into some trouble with the Gotham PD, mainly because Commissioner Gordon has just retired, and Gordon's replaced by this new commissioner, Ellen Yindel, who has pretty much a no Batman policy, and she's just going out of her way just to stop Batman by whatever means necessary. And Joker, when he goes on his talk show appearance, he murders Dr. Wolper, then he sends in some little flying robots that spray the entire audience with Joker toxin, and as you know, death by laughter. And after Joker's little public appearance, he meets with Selina Kyle. He tracks down Selina Kyle. Uses her to get Batman's attention and lead Batman to their big final showdown, which is at like this fairgrounds, and the final and pretty much leads to the final battle between Joker and Batman, with Joker running around just shooting random people, and Batman trying to stop him. He even throws a batarang in Joker's eye, which I really forgot about happened in the story until I saw the movie. And so, anyways, Batman and Joker finally get to their big confrontation, final fight, until Batman's pretty much able to end it by snapping Joker's neck. And he doesn't kill Joker because still he's Batman. He doesn't kill. So he snaps Joker's neck, and that paralyzes Joker pretty much from the neck down. And Joker's like, and Joker can't, but that's really what Joker wanted all along. And knowing that that he and Batman are the only ones in this area right now, they're isolated. So Joker pretty much uses the last of his strength just to break his own neck, so Batman will look like a murderer. And unfortunately, that's what happens. The Gotham PD shows up. Batman escapes, and because of Batman's recent actions, he's also attracting the attention of the U.S. government, because apparently the reason all the heroes went to retirement was because they made some sort of deal with the government. And so far, the only other heroes that are still technically active are Superman, who's actually working with the U.S. government, and Oliver Queen, who's gone underground because, well, he's too much. Well, because he's Oliver Queen, he's not really friends with the government. And so Batman, and so eventually and eventually this whole thing's going out of hand. It ultimately leads to a big confrontation between Superman and Batman, and Batman is able to survive most of the fight thanks to this new armor he's developed. Also Oliver Queen's there too, who helps him out by launching a kryptonite arrow, and pretty much Batman has nearly beat Superman to death. He says that, I want you to remember this, Clark. I want you to remember the man who beat you. And then suddenly Batman has a heart attack, and it looks like, Batman's dead. And, of course, it looks like Batman's dead. And his identity is discovered as Bruce Wayne, but also at the same time, while the big fight between Superman and Batman was going on, Batman had Alfred set up, pretty much empty all his accounts, and I think that was probably Alfred, but mainly Alfred was supposed to activate the self-destruct sequence in the manor, Wayne Manor, and thus Wayne Manor is destroyed, and shortly after it's destroyed, Alfred has a stroke and he dies. But in the end, at the final scene with Bruce's funeral, we later see Superman and a girl who's actually Carrie Kelly, Batman's new Robin. They're the last people at the funeral. Then suddenly, as Clark Kent's leaving, he hears a faint heartbeat underneath Bruce's grave, and so he looks at Carrie, gives her a little wink that he's okay with this as long as Bruce keeps quiet. Then he's fine with his actions. And the issue pretty much ends. The movie. I do comic reviews, and I'm used to saying the issue. And okay, so the movie pretty much ends with Batman, Robin, and Oliver Queen leading the remaining Sons of Batman and the mutants. I also should mention this as because of Batman's actions with disbanding the mutant gang. Some of them have actually sided with Batman and took up their own gang called the Sons of Batman, and eventually Batman is able to get them under control, and again, like I said, in the end, Batman's leading the group of the remaining mutants and Sons of Batman to set up this secret base of theirs underground, so that now they can work on their mission, but be a little more covert about it. All right, Batman: The Dark Knight Returns Part 2. Very awesome movie. It is definitely loyal. I would say it is definitely loyal to the comic series as much as the first part. Because I remember reviewing the first part, I did praise this a lot because of its adaptation with the comic series, and it was phenomenal with what they did here. And I did actually have to, after I watched the second part, I did go back to the actual collection here, and I want to reference a few things just to be sure that they did get it right, they didn't obscure it. And one of the things that I did notice was that they don't call Clark Kent Superman at all during this entire story. He's not called Superman by anyone. Batman mostly calls him Clark. Carrie Kelly just refers to him as him. Even the president doesn't even call him Superman. So I thought that was very interesting. That pretty much no other superhero is given by their code name except for Bruce because he's Batman. And you don't really get much other than about any of the other heroes though, because pretty much only just a brief mention where Superman says Diana went back to her people and Hal left the planet. That's pretty much it. So yeah, Part 2, very amazing. And however, if you did get I would recommend though that if you ordered this online, then before it gets here, you may want to watch Part 1 if you already have it, just to kind of refresh your memory. Because I did that a few days before my DVD arrived from Amazon. I watched Part 1 again. And or heck, when this arrives, just if you have the time, watch them both back to back, because that's great too. As a whole, though, both parts very loyal to the comic series. This is definitely one of the best Batman stories around. I mean, if you loved Year One, then which is also by Frank Miller, you are definitely going to love The Dark Knight Returns, both comic and movie form. Although really, I'd recommend both, but it's your call. And another thing I want to remind people, this is an awesome story. The reason I did not include it in my top 5 is because this is still an alternate timeline. Okay, Bruce is still old and stuff, but pretty much old and retired, but now he gets back in the game. And the first 2 halves of the series of the movie do work well, because pretty much Part 1, it's about Bruce coming out of retirement, and it's his journey for the most part. Part 2 is pretty much the rest of everyone else's reactions to it, from Gotham to pretty much the, I guess, U.S. government. But I would definitely recommend you get both of these movies because they are great. Really amazing. I mean, the people behind behind all these movies, the DC animated movies, they do impressive work. And a lot of the people who... Oh, yeah, and also if you're a fan of Batman the Animated Series, a lot of the people who... Bruce Timm, Andrea Romano, who are behind that series, they also worked really hard to make this possible. So they have deep admiration for the Dark Knight Returns story as well. Okay, again, overall, Batman the Dark Knight Returns, Part 2, very amazing. And if you haven't seen Part 1, I definitely recommend you get this too. Get both of these if possible, because they really complement each other, and I would definitely recommend watching them back to back. Okay, well, that's my review of the Batman the Dark Knight Returns DVD movie. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Spider-Man 1991 saying see you later.